what's up? Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads, and check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. This review is going to feature spoilers in this movie, so if you don't want to be spoiled about this movie, now's the best time to check out. Okay, you're still here. This movie is an hour and a half, and it's an hour and a half that I've wasted, so you don't have to. This movie is terrible. This is the worst installment in the franchise. A lot of people said that The Predator wasn't good. This is worse. Now what's happening now at the moment, there's a very serious online campaign to try and fool people into believing that this was a good movie because of the representation and because of the fact that they've put it as a period piece, something that people have been asking for some time, that they've decided to do now, and they've decided to botch it. There's a better story in this movie in my belief, which is if they had something akin to the original Predator, where a hunting party consisting of male Native Americans going out and trying to take this out as some sort of mark of respect or indeed some sort of honour. I think that would have been a better idea, to have basically two great hunters face off against each other, and something then untoward happening towards the end, which is maybe the Predator ultimately winning, something like that. I think that this movie botched it in favour of injecting a female protagonist, clearly at the behest of Disney, in my opinion, because Disney now own 20th Century Fox, and it takes a very predictable route throughout this movie. Now what I mean by that is the movie follows Naru, who is a young Comanche woman trained as a healer, but she dreams of becoming a great hunter like her brother Tabe. The movie's set in 1719, and of course she's gone against all of the stereotypes, and she doesn't want to be sitting at home picking berries having a handy life. Instead she wants to be out in danger. Baffling stuff, because that just wouldn't have happened at the time, because I'm sure as well too, when you have a hunting party like these guys, they didn't want to have someone that was tagging along them that could have caused issue, and indeed does cause issue. We see this at the start of the story when a mountain lion attacks one of the members of the tribe. They bring that individual home, and then they want to go and take the mountain lion out to protect the rest of the tribe, which is fair enough. What happens then is Naru and another man are sitting at the top of a tree, and he gets distracted by the fact that she is there. He gets taken out by the mountain lion. We then see Naru is backed up at the bottom of the branch by the mountain lion, and as she falls off, she strikes the mountain lion with a spear. We all know what's going to happen next, because it pays off later on, of course, when Tabe says, "I wouldn't have been able to take the mountain lion out without your help and you injuring it." Of course, simping for the lady, that's helped everything out. 100% happy days. She falls off this branch from a height and hits her head off a rock. Of course, no long-lasting injuries or concussion or problems to deal with for this lady. She is seriously OP'd, and she is the Mary Sue of the Predator movies now at this stage. We've had some good female characters in the past. The one that I like the best is the one from Alien vs Predator. I think she was written very, very well, and indeed is someone that is very intelligent, but also understands that if she is no threat to the Predator isn't going to be a threat to her. And the way they move through that movie, I think, is one of the better movies, particularly after Predator 2. I think the first Alien vs Predator isn't that bad of a movie, and I think it gets an awful lot of hate that it shouldn't get, particularly when you look at something like this that totally does the opposite, which is absolutely nerfs the Predator towards the third act, and indeed does some nonsensical things. So you've got a situation then at hand where the Predator is dropped onto Earth, and my problem with the movie and the inconsistencies that happen are based with what happens in the interactions between the Predator and the animals within this movie. So if first encounters a snake, it's quicker than a rattlesnake that tries to strike it. So just think about that for a moment, and think about how quick a rattlesnake is. It's quicker than that. It's stronger and faster than a wolf. Again, think about that. It's then stronger and faster than a bear. So this should have absolutely no problem then with anyone that it encounters within this movie. It does have actually no problem with any male that it encounters in this movie, until kind of near the end with Tabe. Tabe gets a few licks in, which isn't too bad. And actually, at that point in time, I was like, if they set the movie on this guy, this has been a much better movie and it's much more believable. But they leave it then towards the end for this lady. So at 28 minutes into the movie, Tabe comes back to the tribe, and he has the mountain lion slung over his shoulder, and indeed the mountain lion's head in his hand. So bear in mind, 28 minutes in, I predicted the end of this movie, having never seen it before, having never seen any spoilers, that she would come back to the village with the Predator's head in her hands. I said to myself, I wonder how it'll be done, but that's exactly what's going to happen, and boy was I proved right. So anyway, she helps out her brother, and they're able to set the trap for the lion, and that's all hunky-dory, everything is good then. She goes out then herself then narrow to hunt, and she comes across a herd of skinned bison, and then she tries to kill a grizzly bear. Now she's forgotten the advice that she so wisely gave to her brother, which is, if you have a wet bow, your string is going to snap and you won't be able to do anything. She's forgotten this at this point, and she tries to attack a grizzly bear. This is baffling to me, because she misses, whereas the bear's just looking for her at that point in time. Instead of moving away from the area, she misses, and then she gets down and she tries to get into a better position, which actually puts her more at risk along with the dog. The dog is the best character in this movie, by the way, and she's in trouble. So she runs away, she gets into the water, which is obviously a bad idea because the bear is much more powerful, so it's going to get through the water easily enough, and she gets under some mud. The grizzly bear is in on her at that point in time, and the predator comes along and takes the grizzly bear out. Now it's faster and stronger than the grizzly bear. The grizzly bear charges upon the predator, and the predator punches it that hard that it A, either knocks the bear out, or B, it breaks the bear's neck with how powerful the punch was. So I just want you to remember that for later on, because that's going to be important. It then lifts the bear over its head. So I mean, the bear, it's not like it's a teddy bear or anything like this. This is a very large bear. It lifts it over its head, and then the predator is somewhat revealed through the blood that trickles down. It's absolutely unbelievable. I have to say, I have to be honest with you when I say this, I couldn't believe they nerfed the predator towards the end. But anyway, the creature is fantastic in the movie insofar as how it moves and some of the things that it does, and then towards the end it just really loses the plot, unfortunately. So what happens then is she moves away, and there's some Comanche hunters that are there, and they really are very interesting to watch because they are misogynists, of course, and they are someone to not like. Now again, the Native Americans are portrayed very negatively in this movie, particularly the men, so I'm very surprised to see it getting such a warm reception from certain people. But anyway, these guys then are attacked by the predator after the leader of the little tribe that's out there of hunters, not the brother now, but another fella, is beaten up by the little girl. So the girl with the limp wrist is throwing punches at this fella, and he's taking them as if Mike Tyson is hitting him. She takes him to task, really, to be quite honest, and at that point I have to say it was another fight that I just laughed at. They are then murked, and I mean murked, by the predator. So 3 of these fellas are just taken out. One fella runs away into the long grass, and he's hanging around out there, and she follows him out, and they're hanging around, and at this point in time she's worked out very quickly as to how the predator uses its lasers to aim and fire projectiles. So alien tech is very easily understood by this lady. And people thought the kid and the predator was the problem. So anyway, you've got this woman that's out in the long grass with this guy. She realises the lasers are going to cause issue, saves his life, and they start running. Now bear in mind, this guy is slower than this lady. The predator is shown to be quite quick, and it runs, it catches up, and it takes him out. The predator then runs after her and isn't able to catch her. So she's outran the predator. So this predator that's quicker than a snake is able to catch up with this guy, can't catch this woman. She then gets caught in a trap, and the trap injures her ankle, and we get then French voyagers that come along then. So the predator is kind of pulling her in with the chain and doesn't seem that much interested, and the French voyagers come along after the predator buggers off. They've caught her brother, and there's a guy called Raphael Adelini. Now, to anybody that's out there that understands Predator 1 and 2, Predator 1 gave us a commando squad that had been taken out by Predator, and then almost a second squad that was taken out then in Dutch's squad, and with Dutch only being left. So gave a premise for this Predator to be really tough. Predator 2, very similar thing where it was taking out gangland members, and then we have Danny Glover, who did what he did then towards the end of that movie. But at the end of the Danny Glover movie, we get a pistol that's handed over with the name Raphael Adelini. So this is how they're going to weave this in, unfortunately. And for anyone that's out there that's read the comics in particular, Raphael Adelini was a pirate that was betrayed by his men, and inevitably then teamed up with a predator to take them out. And he passed away and told the predator to take his weapon in an honourable trade. That's out of the window now. So not good. I think a lot of fans will be completely unhappy with that one. So anyway, the French use the 2 Native Americans as bait to attract the predator to try and take it out, because it's been causing a bit of nuisance for them instead of them just moving away, you know. And even though these guys possess guns, they're not able to put a lick on this predator. And the predator does some cool things during this scene. It hops around a couple of trees that we've seen in the trailer and takes out these guys pretty easily, very easily as such. We then move on into where there's a base camp, and this lady wants to go back to get her dog. Now, bear in mind, everyone is fleeing at this point in time because this predator's been marking everyone at this point. But she decides to run into the camp whilst people are still there to take the dog. Baffling stuff. And what we get treated to is a Last Jedi choreography, which is you see about 6 French men that attempt to attack this woman one-on-one each time, and are falling over like stuntmen. Now, the stuntmen, to their credit, which they clearly are, they're not actors, I don't think, do their very best to pretend like they're trying to get engaged with this woman and engage in a fisticuffs, but it doesn't look good. It looks exactly like the Last Jedi fight that happens between Rey Skywalker, as she's called, Kylo Ren, and the Praetorian Guards, where there's guys that are missing marks, there's Horde that's missing marks, and it just looks terrible. But that's what you get when you get people that are not trained fighters put into these positions, and that just don't naturally have it. Just don't have it there. So what happens then is you've got the predator that shows up after taking out about 6 French guys, because at this point in time she has a hatchet that's attached to some rope. She's like Scorpion now in Mortal Kombat with this thing. This thing never misses, it doesn't either, and she's out to take these people out willy-nilly. Of course, this woman that hasn't really hunted before, that we've been shown a couple of scenes beforehand that builds her up, is now super able to do all these things. Mad stuff. But anyway, the predator comes in and Tabe comes in, and I really have to say this, I'll be honest with you when I say this, I thought this fight choreography between Tabe and the predator was really good. It was really good. You had him being fired upon by the predator, he was backing away with being on horseback, and then he comes in, then he gets a good few licks in on the predator. It was really good. And I said to myself at that point in time, I was like, this looks very good. And indeed, I know I'm using the adjective there, very good, but it was something enjoyable. I thought it was the highlight of the movie, other than the bear incident. I think that this was the highlight of the movie that I knew was going to be very short-lived anyway. So the predator's helmet knocked off as well, which reveals us the predator. The predator looks weird as well too. Maybe it's got something to do with them not being able to use the original design, but they seem to be kind of moving away from the original design with each movie, and they keep trying to disrespect the original design, which I think is very odd, to say the very least, especially when you're not given any background as to why these predators all look somewhat different, and very different in some cases, like predators as well. So anyway, predator's helmet's knocked off. She finds out then and realises, okay, the helmet is intrinsic as to how to fire this weapon. Again, I don't know if that's been a thing in the past or anything like that with any of these predator movies where they need to have these things intertwined. It's a flaw in the tech for sure. That's maybe something they're able to use for this, but however, you got the predator then that's there, and it turns back up, gets its helmet back on, and is able to take Tabe out because Tabe realises it's behind him, and instead of attacking it, he just stands there and gets stabbed, kind of like Han Solo in The Force Awakens. Knows what's going to happen, but still does it anyway. She gets away then, and she lures the predator into a trap, and at this point in time, I said to myself, oh my god, it's like someone took the first 2 thirds of the movie and said, this is how it's to be done, happy days, and someone looked over the last third and said, no, you're going to change it. She finds one of the French on the river, and she's able to knock this guy out. She's able to approach this guy without him hearing her at all, and then she's able to sever the leg of this guy, and she's able to give some very CW-esque female empowerment feminist message of, I'm just taking you out, you just don't know it yet, with some certain eye rolls that are in there and flicks of the hair and all that. Very modern stuff that's just very off-putting. So anyway, the predator arrives and she moves her foot out of the way. Of course, the predator can't see her because earlier on it's told to us in the movie that there's a certain plant that if they use, it can kill people's bodies down, and that's why the predator can't see her. You know, the album MacGuffin, it's fantastic stuff, and it's something that she's after taking herself so her body's cooled down. The predator then takes out this guy, and she then uses that point, and I mean this in all sincerity, when she stands behind the predator with the flintlock, I said to myself, oh my god, this isn't going to be how they do it, is it? Now, it would have been ingenious at that point in time, I suppose, in one way, to have taken the predator out with one shot from behind, because it would demonstrate as well too that this woman wasn't up for a physical fight with this behemoth, because bear in mind it had taken out a bear with its bare hands. I know I've said bear an awful lot there, but you know, it is what it is. You've got this lady then that's standing behind it with a flintlock. She shoots the predator in the head, and the mask comes off, and the predator's like stunned. She picks the mask up and runs away. So at no point in time has this predator heard any movements, been suspect of anything. Now, again, like I said, this predator is able to move really quickly. None of this comes into play here. Of course, our young Naru is giving us some Dutch vibes with setting up some of the traps that she sets up, and that's why you'll have some of the simps that are out there that'll say, oh, she was, you know, you like Dutch when he set up those traps. Yeah, but he was a commando. He had experience, and the fact that you were trying to belittle a commando versus a girl that decided on a whim to be a hunter on the day is able to set up these elaborate traps, it says more about you and the lack of what you think about these movies. So anyway, she's able to get into fisticuffs and is able to take the predator to task. At one stage of the game as well too, the predator makes a wild swing and takes its own arm off. Again, baffling stuff. But that's not where it gets better. It gets better from here. The predator has a hold of her then. In the ensuing fight, he has her by the neck. So he realises at this point in time, because he wants to engage with her, that she's a threat. Where's the strength gone? It's quicker than a rattlesnake, it's quicker and stronger than a wolf, and it's quicker and stronger than a bear. That should have been game over. Now, that would have been a good ending to this movie insofar as being a bit of a lesson as to why you shouldn't mess around with something that's bigger and tougher, stronger, and has been given you through the story clues as to how strong this thing is. That would have been a case in point where the predator just ends it, looks at it, trophies, and off he goes. That would have been a good ending to it, and it would have been something that would have been different, because in each Predator movie that we've had now, the Predators have been taken out. And to me, that would have given us some ground to go with the Raphael Adolini stuff, because in Predator 2, as I said, with the pistol, would have given some sort of look to that, and maybe we would have seen some sort of, I suppose, taking on of the greyback Predator that's in Predator 2 and this Predator, because this Predator looks completely different. But no. What they decide to do is they decide to allow the Predator leave this woman go, of course, because of plot armor. And this woman is able to then get the Predator into a situation where it gets into a swamp that she's been in beforehand. And of course, it's all telegraphed, by the way, because it's such bad writing. She's able to get herself out of the swamp. The Predator is able to get up and sort of move its way through the swamp, but decides to take out its projectile weapon rather than just getting out and sorting her out, which I had the chance to do earlier on. And with that then, she has used, now what I mean used, mathematics like we've never seen before. People want to talk about that kid in the Predator, but at least he's aided by current technology. She used mathematics and angles like I've never seen before in a movie, because there's a fire in this weapon and it bounces around trays, and eventually the Predator looks, and it's like Ivan Ooze in the Power Rangers movie. It's only short of going, uh-oh. It doesn't make any sort of attempt to maneuver away from what's coming towards it, and the Predator inevitably takes itself out. Unbelievable stuff. Then we see this woman returns to the tribe, and like I guessed, 28 minutes into this movie, the head is in her hands. I couldn't believe it, how bad it is, and how much people are talking about it online as if it's some great movie. Now, the only thing is, though, when I've looked at some of the IMDb reviews, there's clearly some shill and paid reviews, in my opinion, on that website, but there's a lot of reviews that are out there that feel the exact same that I do, which is an hour and a half of wasted time, the worst one in the franchise and the worst installment that we've seen, and some of the most biggest inconsistencies that we've seen with a Predator and the nerfing of a Predator that we've never seen before. This movie is terrible. If you're going to give it a score out of 10, I'm going to give it a 0 out of 10. Actually, no, it might be a bit fairer than that. I'll give it a 2 out of 10, but that's basically to do with the fantastic and beautiful locations that this movie was shot on, and the music. The music I actually quite liked. The point is this with a movie like this: if you set it as a period piece, you can do very well, but you have to look at it historically. Everybody knows what everyone wants next, and they want to see a Predator dropped into feudal Japan to face samurai. Nobody wants to see a Mulan-esque type movie. Nobody wants to see it. They want to see samurai taking on this guy, and I think that that would be a fantastic thing to do next. And a lot of people, myself included, expected this movie to do something different insofar as the Predator going away as the victor. It's not been done yet. It has to be done, and that was something that's going to be a different trope for movies going forward. This Nerf the Predator, anything else that comes out under Disney, you have to expect it to be terrible like this is. So again, another disappointing installment into the franchise, and it's only going to get worse from here. This is going to get worse and worse, and they're already talking about a sequel to this movie with this woman being head of the tribe, and I'm sure that they'll weasel their way in for her to be helping out with Greyback, and for the pistol of Raphael Andolini to be handed over to Greyback with some other predator coming down and trying to attack them. You know, it's telegraphed at this stage of the game. So anyway, I'm going to leave the review there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell up above for future uploads. Check out the links posted in the description down below to support the channel. Talk to you later. Look.